Hello students. In the last lecture, we studied sources and reservoirs of infection. Now, we will understand modes of transmission of infections. Okay? Now, the traditional epidemiological trade model holds that infection disease results from the interaction of agent, host, and environment. Okay? Communicable diseases may be transmitted from the reservoir or the source of infection to a susceptible individual in many different ways, depending upon the infectious agent or portal of entry and the local ecological conditions. Okay? Now, the mode of transmission of infectious agent can be different. It can be direct transmission, indirect transmission. Now, what is included in direct transmission? It can be direct contact, it can be droplet infection, it can be contact with soil, it can be inoculation into skin or mucosa, it can be transplacental. Okay, these are direct transmission. Now, what is included in indirect transmission? Vehicle-borne or vector-borne or airborne or a formite-borne or unclean hands and fingers. Okay, fine. Now let's see this image. Modes of disease transmission: direct or indirect. Direct contact, droplet spread. Indirect, airborne, vehicle-borne, vector-borne. And in vector-borne, it can be mechanical or biological. Fine. Let's start direct transmission. It's the immediate transfer of infectious agent from an infected host or reservoir to an appropriate entry point through which human infection can take place. Okay. Now this may be direct contact such as touching, kissing or an intercourse, or by the direct spread of droplets by sneezing or coughing, or a blood transfusion, or a transplacental infection from mother to fetus, etc. Now direct contact occurs through skin to skin contact or kissing or intercourse. Now it refers to contact with soil or vegetations harboring infection. So there are both ways. Fine. For example, hookworm is spread by direct contact with contaminated soil. Understood? How is the direct transmission? Now in that, next is droplet spread. Droplet spread refers to spray with relatively large short range aerosols produced by sneezing, coughing or even talking. Fine. Droplet spread is classified as direct because transmission is by direct spray over a few feet before the droplets fall to the ground. We have best example right now. We are facing the corona pandemic, the COVID-19. Okay. For that, we are using for precautions, like we are using mask so that there are no droplets, there is no direct transmission. Understood? Now another example is pertussis and meningococcal infection. The disease is transmitted from an infectious patient to a susceptible host by droplet spread. Okay. Indirect transmission. Now it can be a vehicle-borne, vector-borne or airborne. I told you. So in vehicle-borne transmission, it occurs through contaminated materials such as food, clothes, bedding and cooking utensils. Okay. If you use any such contaminated material. So there's a chance of indirect transmission. What is vector-borne transmission? It occurs when the agent is carried by an insect or animal to a susceptible host. The agent may or may not multiply in the vector. Fine. Now, airborne transmission. It occurs when there is the dissemination of very small droplets to a suitable point of entry, usually the respiratory tract. Okay. Dust particles also facilitate airborne transmission. For example, fungal spores. See, some people are allergic to fungal spores. Now you're getting what exactly transmission is given over here. Okay. The modes are easy. You can understand. Now, vehicles. Vehicles that may indirectly transmit an infectious agent include food, water, biological products like blood and fomites. They are the inanimate objects such as handkerchiefs, bedding, or surgical scalpels. Okay? It passively carries a pathogen. Fine. Alternatively, the vehicle may provide an environment in which the agent grows, multiplies, or produces toxins which are improperly canned or improperly canned foods which provide an environment that supports the production of botulinum toxin by Clostridium botulinum. Understood? Next, vectors. Vectors such as mosquitoes, fleas, ticks may carry an infectious agent through purely mechanical means or may support growth or changes in the agent. Examples for mechanical transmissions are flies carrying Shigella on their appendages and flies carrying Yersinia pestis, the causative agent of plague, in their gut. Okay. In contrast, in biological transmission, the causative agent of malaria or guinea worm disease undergoes maturation in an intermediate host before it can be transmitted to humans. Fine. Airborne transmission, it occurs when infectious agents are carried by dust or droplet nuclei suspended in the air. It includes material that has settled on surface and become resuspended by the air currents, as well as infectious particles blown from the soil by the wind. Okay. Droplet nuclei are dried residue of fewer than 5 microns in size. In contrast to droplets that fall on the ground within a few feet, droplet nuclei may remain suspended in the air for a long period of time and may be blown over great distances. Example, measles has occurred in children who came into a physician's office after a child with measles had left, because the measles virus remained suspended in the air. Understood? Indirect transmission. So understood indirect transmission. Now next, significance of mode of transmission. Now because of understanding what is the mode of transmission, you can break the chain at the most important ways to interrupt the spread of infection, right? Now, this is where infection prevention and control strategies can be most successful. Once you know what is the mode of transmission, you can take similar precautions. Okay? It is important to distinguish between types of transmission when selecting control methods. Direct transmission can be interrupted by preventing contact with the source. Now you understand what is direct transmission, what is indirect transmission. So you can prevent contact with the source. You can interrupt. Now, indirect transmission requires different approaches such as provision of mosquito nets, adequate ventilation, cold storage for foods, or sterile syringes and needles. Fine. If you have any doubts, do ask me. Thank you.